We are live from Elevation Health in Lake Mary, Florida. Dr. Patrick Flynn and myself talking about hormones. Hello everybody, Ross Skorzewski, your host of the Dr. Patrick Flynn Show, and we have an exciting episode today. Joining me once again and always, the one and only Dr. Patrick Flynn, the hormone whisperer, the man who can speak to your hormones better than anybody else out there, and I saw it again last night, is living proof, the man. It's awesome.
It was a great night last night.
You crushed it last night.
It was moving. It was moving. The crowd was great. The venue was great, just the people. Yeah, it was just a great time
just
last
knocking
night.
almost on 200 people. I mean,
Yep.
It was a fabulous event. Dr. Dan Yachter
Yes.
of Elevation Health, now a Wellness Way affiliate. Come on in here, sir, and join us for today's episode.
Fantastic. Excited to be here.
This is the man, the myth, the legend, Elevation Health. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's great to be a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 20 years.
Yep.
And just love practicing, love serving people, love learning about the Wellness Way protocols, and helping a lot of people. And that's what, it's like what we say, not only helping people, but having fun doing it. When you're getting
Absolutely.
results and you have things that that are working well, and you're working with great people, it's that's what it's about. God is good, and
Absolutely.
we're changing the world.
One day at a time.
Yep. One person at a time.
One person at a time. And we had, not only was it a great event, great information being dispensed once again, but then we had the opportunity to do dinner last night and had some
Yes.
great conversations.
Yeah.
And you've got over 18 years in
Yep.
the industry. And how many years do you have?
20.
20 years. So you guys have combined 40 years of chiropractic experience, and what brings us all together is the Wellness Way approach.
Yep.
And talk to me, why does that have you so intrigued as a chiropractor?
Well, as a chiropractor, we get excited because we understand cause.
Yes.
DC, doctors of chiropractic, doctors of cause, and we understand what creates imbalance, and imbalance leads to sickness, disease, illness, pain, inflammation. And so we get excited because we almost have kind of like, as chiropractors, the Rosetta Stone, where we can figure things out. Instead of being frustrated physicians who typically treat or Band-Aid or mask symptomatically, we can provide real answers and solutions to people who are desperate
good.
and hanging on the cliff by their fingernails. We
Yep,
can
literally.
get them answers because we know how to get a cause. Stress is that cause. Stressors, the thoughts, emotions, the 3 T's, trauma, thoughts, and toxins. We know
Yes.
our triggers, stressors that create inflammation and create imbalance, and we know how to get to the source and the cause, and it's exciting, and that's what being a doctor of cause or doctor of chiropractic is all about.
Absolutely. I want to take us through the next possible 25 minutes of just kind of a little tour of questions with these two amazing doctors, because I think, as we've always talked, this show is about information. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. Number one, I think in regards to chiropractic care, there's a lot of misinformation, especially in a lot of the topics that we talk about. So I'm going to tap into your intellect, if you will. And if I can, I would love for the two of you, because I was having a discussion last week with somebody about chiropractic care.
Yep.
And as a doctor, what is one of the most misunderstood aspects of chiropractic care?
Well, just they think what we do. You're saying that because medicine is so dominant today that what happens is they believe that they take care of all conditions that way. And now with chiropractors, what happens, they think we take care of many conditions. You're
Sure.
saying a back pain here, a headache, a thing. And actually, believe it, that's the biggest fallacy. It has really nothing to do with that. So because how did we become hormone experts?
Exactly.
Being chiropractors that way, it baffles people until they realize it's a whole different approach, whole different thinking. And the sad part is today, and we discussed this because I got to give a little shout out to Dan. Doc Dan at one time saw more patients than anybody in the world for probably 10 years.
Yeah.
How many patients a week?
Almost 2,000, if not more. You know, Sam? 2,000
Adjustments?
adjustments a week. And so what happens, and then what we've done now it's been so heavily adjustment specific that we've moved away from what our true core was. Our true core, that people say, Doc, how'd you come up with the idea for Wellness Way? I'm like, I didn't. Actually, I took our philosophy that has been around for over 100 years and put it in modern day. You see him, and then that's why most of our work appeals to chiropractors, but also appeals to nurse practitioners, medical doctors, everything, because of the clinical results.
Absolutely.
No joke. Dr. Dan and I this morning, I won't show names or anything, but Dr. Dan and I this morning, we're going through labs like crazy. Here's a hormone test. Here's actually a stool test of a young lady and stuff like that. That's actually even bleeding rectally and stuff, poop and blood all the time. And I always said, doesn't matter if we're in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Doesn't matter like we were in Nashville a week and a half ago.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if we're Lake Mary. Everybody's sick as a dog, because you know why? Because of the current thinking.
Yes.
So Dr. Dan owns Elevation Health. He owns multiple offices. He's done great clinical work, and now what he's just brought the other aspect of the approach in there. And that's what I tell people: you don't have to be a full all wellness way to be able to do the care.
Sure.
Do you see him?
Absolutely.
He already took what he already did and just started to add some other things in there. And now once again, that's why we have a great day of actually seeing patients the rest of the day. So it's kind of cool. He will see patients the rest of the day. I will be there with them doing consults with some very sick people that were there last night.
Yes, and it really came down to even seeing what we talked about last night at dinner, where almost 200 people having that aha moment, that light bulb experience, where they were, as you tell them in the very beginning, the one thing that you want to be able to do is get them to do what?
Think differently.
Think differently. That's what this show is about, is to get you to think differently. So as that aha moment was going on for you last night, what were you thinking when you were seeing the expression on the faces of those people who came to see Dr. Patrick Flynn?
The expressions were expressions of eyes being opened, and to me it was really a revolutionary presentation for people to understand there's help. And the difference between what's common and what's normal, there's a very big difference. There are millions upon millions of people who are out there, millions of women, maybe with hormonal issues or with whatever issue out there, and it seems like everybody has it. So it appears to be normal. It's very abnormal. It's just common, and there's a very, very big difference. And that was probably the biggest, delineation, distinction. Starting to think differently as to, why are these things happening? Why do you have symptoms? Why is your body out of balance?
Yes.
And understanding also for a lot of people looking around the room, we talked about, big focus was, just understanding hormones and the hormonal balance and how men and women differ so greatly, and that it's not only important to understand hormones in terms of getting your health back, but also relating to the opposite sex, and understanding what we each go through. And a big part of last night was there's no question there was tons of people coming up to me saying, I feel like first, a lot of people said, I just wish I would have known this, 40 years ago when I got married.
That one guy came up to me, he said, I've been married 47 years. He goes, if I would have known this, I would have treated my wife differently.
Exactly. And
I'm like, that I got my message across.
And it's so important for us to understand, to see, what other people, like my wife, I have a much greater relationship with her now that I understand that component of health and well-being. But last night was big. We had a huge turnout. It was a blockbuster event. Dr. Patrick just hit it out of the park. Everybody loved him. He did an amazing job. And again, the information is revolutionary. And one of the things we're going to do is Wellness Way. Dr. Patrick and his organization gave me permission on next Wednesday. I believe it's going to be the 27th or the 26th, whichever day that is, the 27th on Wednesday, on our private Facebook group, we're going to post the talk.
Nice.
For a very limited amount of time. It's going to go up, it's going to come down. We can't keep it up there, but we're going to allow those who try desperately to get there, couldn't get there, to actually get a glimpse of the greatness there that Dr. Patrick brings to that presentation, because it is moving, it's impactful, and it's life-changing.
Yeah, and now you're going to be able to deal with people today. You're going to be able to dive into their story. You've got a personal story that even ties into this whole picture as well, that really brings you to the table to speak from a personal perspective, just like the people were talking to you last night. And I think going forward, even as we address and talk about hormones today, is that really, at the end of the day, this is something everybody across the board needs to hear. It's not gender specific. It's not ethnic, the ethnic is not specific, country, whatever. Everybody to some degree,
Yep.
hormones matter.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, no, it was again eye-opening last night. People were learning things that it was completely different from anything that anybody has ever heard. I don't
It's
think
Dr. Patrick, how could it not be?
most people. I don't know if they knew what to expect when they were coming.
Well, even Mindy, your wife, saying,
Yeah.
I've been taking care of her for how long now? Just a certain amount of time, and I've talked to her on the phone, went through stuff, and then even last night when she went, she goes, it was just so darn good.
Yeah.
She's like, she goes, it got me to even think even more different that way.
And it's so real. The information's so real. She felt like, my wife said, like, it was almost like everybody in the room was just stripped down,
That's what she said.
naked. And it's like, and it's so real. It's so real, and everybody's looking around, and then they felt free to really communicate where they were at, and it was really, it's freeing, especially when you're hearing about a topic that's somewhat quote unquote taboo, but if it's not openly talked about, then people like silently suffer their issues. But a little bit about my journey and how we connected is that because of hormones, because of an imbalanced hormonal system, imbalanced immune system, my wife got very, very sick. And it was just an awful journey for us, going through it. Searched and searched and searched for answers, and the way we met and the reason why I'm part of Wellness Way and why we have the protocols in our office is because you're our only hope. Our last answer, Dr. Ben Lerner, very close friend, told me, we connected. He said, you need to talk to Dr. Patrick because he's the only one who's going to get you the help you need in the Wellness Way protocols. Connected with you. Within 2 weeks, turned around a year and a half of suffering. And I said after that, once a couple months went by, I said, on the phone, I said, I'm going to have to learn what you're bringing Mindy through.
Yes.
I have to learn more about it, and how could I ever keep this from my own clinic and keep it from my own patients? And that's how the relationship continued to develop. And I'm proud to be a Wellness Way affiliate. It's just, it really is an honor.
Yeah,
it really is an honor.
Well, it's an honor for us to have you because now, once again, across the United States, we're able to bring the very thing that you've experienced personally, but now that you want to be able to give others, people across the United States are being given the opportunity to think differently and get the clinical results that they've been longing for. And people have been, even because of the show and a lot of the social media that we're putting out there and the topics that are being talked about are calling the Wellness Ways across the country to look for what? Hope. Hope. And you just had a year and a half of suffering, all because you made a phone call. You were looking for something different that would get you results. And I think ultimately at the end of the day, that's what the show's for. That's what you stand for. That's what you stand for. Is challenging. The whole team is challenging the status quo when it comes to healthcare. This is about a revolutionary approach to taking back control of your healthcare. And I'm amazed. 1 year doing this with you. Like I said, this is episode 53. So we are officially into
our second
year of doing the DPF show. And it doesn't change. The need for what you guys bring to the table, all of the offices, all of the Wellness Way doctors, the need for what they're bringing is never going to go away. Why? Because we are in a time where people are sicker than ever.
Well, and it comes down to the thinking healthcare is across the board dominant in the wrong paradigm.
Yes,
Do you
it really
understand?
is.
And so it sets us up perfectly because by the time people got there, they've already went through all the gamuts. Like, no joke, look at these people that we're even doing today. They didn't come here or here first. What they did is they searched out because they're really looking for answers and they're willing to travel and do whatever they can, even medically that way. And then they just get so frustrated and then they try the weird guys. They tried the weird stuff like the Wellness Way and stuff like that. And then they get tested properly and they see it's like, oh my goodness, this is so scientifically and valid and everything that we do that guess what? They're like, this makes so much sense. And then what my job, that's the reason why we started the Hormone Connection Seminar, was just get people to think differently. And when they do, and once again, guys, let me say this again, it doesn't negate that medical care doesn't have a purpose. It's just most people don't know when to use it. And because they're using it so dominantly, by the time that they get to us, they've been so medicated, so, like last night, the tough parts that are really tough is I had 3 women walk up to me and say, Doc, I had a full hysterectomy. I wish I would have known before that. And I say, well, now you're going to have to do some things the rest of your life because you've had that removed. But the thing was, I wish I would have known. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we do the seminars. That's why we do the show. That's why we put so much stuff out on media. That's why we ask you to even watch our other docs do their stuff. Because when they put it out on media, then they're going to give you some great information that way. That's why the Wellness Way, it doesn't matter if me, you, or whoever puts the videos out, or let's say like Dr. Kelvy. She's up in
Yeah,
she's up in Green Bay.
from
So
Poplarville,
we go down here.
Mississippi.
She comes up from Mississippi up to Green Bay.
Yeah.
She's doing some videos and things like that up there right now, which is great. And she actually even worked and did the Zoom this
Zoom
morning
call for the staff
and
training,
stuff.
yep.
And it doesn't matter who you watch because all the Wellness Way doctors are going to come with the same approach and just share their experience. Like I said, that's why if you look at the Hormone Connection Seminar, it's really a story of the evolution of where I started to what now we have today, but it impacts everybody because it relates to them somehow.
Absolutely. And Dr. Kelby, the Southern Belle up in Green Bay, if you're watching, we say hello and we thank you for being a part of
We
our
miss
team.
ya.
And going up there and teaching all the docs this morning. And you mentioned, that they dive into their passion, but really at the same time, you guys are very passionate about what you do. And the way that I've watched you talk last night, and even approach your patients, I can tell that as people come through your door, the experience that they have there, you really do dive into their story. These people matter to you. Getting them the clinical results and helping them really does matter to you. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, before I forget to, I'd love we don't have time to go through Mindy's whole story,
Right.
but I'd love for everybody who's listening, watching, to have an opportunity to read her story. And I know
Yes.
Dr. Patrick on the Wellness Way, different sites and whatnot, social media, it's out there. It's in our group as well, My Family, My Mission. You can read it there. So I'd love for everybody to have an opportunity to read it or know about it. But for us, it's fun in terms of knowing someone's story. One of the things that I love about the Wellness Way is that you're not guessing, you're testing. You're not just randomly pulling stuff off the shelf. You're
good.
really trying to understand not only their personal history story, but their story through testing as well. And it gives you such a comprehensive look at really what's going on with someone's health. Then with the Wellness Way protocols, you have a way of really custom building something that's going to target. And so that's another thing that's very important for especially those out there who are searching or seeking. It's not like just walking into a GNC. That's not what Wellness Way is. And taking
really good.
another supplement to treat something. It's like what's different about it is that there's sleuth work, there's testing, and trying to figure out, well, just like I always tell patients, one woman's health food is another man's poison. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
One person's great healthy supplement is another person's poison. So
Yes.
it's understanding that individual, understanding their individual journey, understanding what's right for them and what's wrong for them in this season of their healing journey, and then with that and their story, putting it together, really understanding how to bring them through a process of healing. It's so powerful.
Yeah, you really do get them set up to, and as well, all the Wellness Way doctors, it's a lifestyle.
Yep.
It's really bringing in, because last night you did something that I thought was awesome. We're sitting down and we're getting dinner and, we're ordering, and all of a sudden he pulls out his card.
His allergy card.
His allergy card. And he's looking at the menu, and we had to have the waitress come over, and he's like, well, I can have anything on your menu as long as it doesn't have this. I mean, the card was this big. No, it wasn't. So, I mean, even you, this is not something that you just preach. You also practice it and live it.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just I want my patients to experience the difference. I want to experience. If I know how powerful it is, why would I not want to use it as my source of healthcare? And that's the power in it. We not only are sitting there as clinicians bringing patients through it, but it's such a powerful system that we use it to keep our families healthy, and that is really important. It's like how many doctors are quote unquote taking their own medicine. We get adjusted every week. We do our own testing on our own families. We live it, and that's really powerful if we are going to bring other people through the process. So,
It has to be. You can't just talk about it and not live it yourself. The people see right through that.
Well, look this morning. You search out healthy options because when we travel.
Yes, we
Dr.
did.
Dan and I walked down and got some good coffee at Fresh Market and stuff of that. Then we actually got dragon fruit smoothies that they brought
His
in.
first one.
You're still working on it? Oh my goodness.
I do it slow, you're saying?
Yeah.
So I savor the flavor. And so, so we travel. And tonight, saying we find decent restaurants, no allergens, stay away from all the processed stuff that way. And it's just, it's part of our lifestyle that way. So we're down here in Florida. Now, the nice thing is, Florida has a lot more options than Green Bay,
Good
Wisconsin.
Lord, yes.
My goodness. It's like, that's one thing I do like about different culture areas that way, is they have it. They're on Green Bay's bringing some more stuff as it goes along that way, but I understand even small towns, it's very difficult for patients that way. So that's why it's an effort that way. It's actually, we're set up actually for failure. We really are.
Yes.
Because most grocery stores, once again, majority of stuff we could never eat, even if we didn't have an allergen to it.
Right.
Because of the processing and how it's made that way. Vice versa. a lot of people don't, for example, have the access to it because they have to drive 60 miles. You know, Sam? Thank God for Amazon.
Yes. I was just going to say, the options
that-
now to access, good quality food is really a lot easier.
Even than
due to
20
the
years
internet.
ago.
Absolutely.
You were saying I remember when I first started practice, remember this, Doc? The best milk you could get was rice milk.
Right.
Which just tastes like bad water. It did. That's what we did in our smoothies and stuff like that, rice milk. And now it's like there's rows
everything.
of
Yeah,
milk options and stuff like
absolutely.
that. And so that's one thing I do like. But you know why the culture's changed a little bit? Because people are so sick today.
Yes.
It's only that's the part when sometimes people they get offended that we bring up the things of the different way of thinking as far as medicine. I'm like, hey, listen, continue on that thinking. Stats are getting worse every year.
Yes.
There's more heart disease, cancer, infertility, diabetes, everything in history that way. And a guy walked up to me last night and he said, listen, he goes, it's interesting because he said the biggest thing that he took away was, and it triggered him, he said, in a good way, he said, listen, he goes, my doctors, he goes, I got diagnosed with diabetes. And he goes, it's genetic. And he goes, but I have 3 brothers that don't have it, and my dad does, and stuff like that. And I said to him, I said, how's your habits? He goes, well, they kind of suck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and he was in his probably 60s or 70s that way, but he was still concerned. He goes, he said, they keep on telling us it's all genetic. It's like, that's not true.
Yeah,
You're saying?
absolutely.
And it's like, and I said, what type do you have? He goes, type 2. I'm like, and you're saying it's genetic? I'm like, and he's like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I know I got to cut back on my sweets and stuff. But see, that's the thinking.
That's easy, though, just to say, well, it's genetic, because then I don't
Yes.
have to take personal ownership
Well, that's the thing.
and then change.
When a doctor says it's genetic, now they're in control.
Exactly.
Not the person.
Absolutely.
You're saying? And that's the part. And I think Nancy and them just did a video where I was talking about that we are tour guides. Do you
Yes,
understand?
on
We
a
can
journey
only
to
guide
health.
that people in their
Yes.
direction. But once again, the hormone connection has a lot to do with stress, even mental stress. And I tell people, they say, listen, if a doctor says, I can help you, I believe that's an outright lie.
Sure.
What he really should say is, with my current way of doing things, I'm going to inhibit, manipulate, stimulate, but I can't really help you. You see what I'm saying? Because you have high blood
Yes.
pressure, I'm gonna inhibit and I'm gonna drop it down.
But to them,
You
they
understand?
think that is help.
Yeah, but once again, look at our stats. Everybody's still getting sicker that way
Sure.
and stuff. So, yep.
Right.
You said it's
High
created
blood-
longevity.
High blood pressure is caused by the big toe. That's
Yes.
what we learned.
Yes, last
the
night.
big toe.
Yeah, the big toe theory.
Yeah, the big toe
I'll prove
theory.
it for you.
Huh?
I'll prove it to you.
And I can prove it.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
You
Just not
understand?
do it right now. though.
Yes.
Okay.
You'll have to come to the seminar to see it.
Yes. Or tune in to this man's page here next week, Wednesday,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Wednesday, my family, my mission.
Yeah.
Yep.
For a limited time only, you're going to get a little bird's eye view. But
Mm-hmm.
if you go there, you got to do something with the information that you get.
Yes.
And I think, once again, information, I think people literally, we've said this before, but with you sitting with us today, the abnormal, unfortunately, has become normal.
Well,
And,
yes, yes.
the idea that people hear you, taking out your allergy card when you go places, that seems like more of an inconvenience. But then
Yep.
again, people would rather complain about the symptoms and the things that they're, dealing with than become label readers or, get their allergies tested.
Yep.
Go out and take control. I just find that to be a little crazy. We call that insanity. It's the idea that you would do the same thing over and over and over, hoping to get what? Different results. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Same way in healthcare.
Yeah.
But eventually here's what happens. There's only 2 options they have.
Yes.
See, they either are going to make a change or they're going to die earlier and suffer. See, a lot of people come up to us, and you've dealt with this. Doc, my family member just won't make any different changes. Good. Let them die.
Yeah.
And don't let them complain that they're sick. See, a lot of
but
people.
you're so cold and heartless and calloused.
You're right. I love it. We live in a society thinking that we have to be
You
nice
only
to
can save
everybody.
those who want to help themselves.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You can help those who help.
I have it all the time. We have wives come in. You've experienced this thousands of times, where the wives get great clinical results, and all of a sudden they say, "Well, my husband still does all this bad stuff. What should I do? Let him get sick and fat and die early. Then go find a guy that will do what you want to do that way."
One with lots of money.
Yes, that's right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but see, it sounds heartless, but you cannot care more than they do.
Yeah, that's a
and,
good
and
point.
women deeply care about their husbands and their
their
kids
children,
and right?
absolutely.
And it breaks their heart when they see that they have such great clinical changes and the other person doesn't do anything about it because there is effort. You say, the guys would actually do it if you just gave them a magic herb and everything went away.
Sure.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah,
You're
it's not
saying
that
it doesn't work
simple,
that way.
right.
So so it's not really cold and callous. It's actually very caring because you're putting up strong boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wellness journey is about self-responsibility, and it's
Yes.
about leading people. The greatest way a clinician can lead a patient is by teaching them or helping guide them in self-responsibility.
Yeah,
And
that's
and
good.
only in that can they truly take control of their health. And
Yep.
you only can be a
Yes.
guide. You can only be that tour guide.
That's it.
And that's it.
Yep, it
And
really
be with
is.
them.
I had doctors. I had a medical doctor who's actually a great friend of ours. You know him personally that way. That actually, and the reason why I started to come up with the term like a tour guide, even though some doctors are offended, even chiropractors, because well, we're great education. Yeah, but your great education makes you a great tour guide because you're going to put them on the bus and drive them and show them direction. But you gotta remember, they have to get off at the stops and experience all the tour
Yes.
and stuff like that. But the medical doctor that's a close friend of ours, he said, listen, I have to be the authority, otherwise they won't respect me.
Yeah, they won't listen.
It's like, no, respect comes with the results. You know, people, once again, people will respect you once you get the clinical results. You don't get the clinical results. I said, Doc, are people ever mad at you not getting the results? Like, yeah. I said, do you know why? Because you told them that what you were going to do was going to change their life. Instead, it didn't. It changed their physiology for a little bit, but then they still got sicker.
Yeah,
You see,
absolutely.
like I said, so we tell people, listen, if you decide to continue to do the bad stuff, we can tell you not to do it, but you choose to do it, you're not going to get the clinical results that you want.
Yeah, and you can't put the finger back on you or you.
Exactly.
It's personal responsibility, taking control. You are. I love that tour guide on the journey to wellness.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Well, yeah.
It really is great.
But
Ladies
even
and gentlemen, off
chiropractors
to your
hate
right
that.
is Whole Foods.
That's right.
Please step inside and read your labels. Thank you.
Yes. And
Get
yes.
off the bus and go experience it for yourself.
Well, and on top of it, like I said, and there's a bunch of people that will get off and stop at McDonald's. You understand?
Yeah,
And that's
because
where people get
it's
really
easy.
mad when I say, great, that's great job security for us.
Yes,
You
exactly.
understand? And then they think and go, wait, that's kind of right. You understand?
You
'Cause
call
you're
it
gonna-
living sassy.
Yeah, living sassy. It's like, and then that's why I tell people they are completely sassy with their habits, and then we have to compensate them, get them back on track.
Absolutely.
The only thing is I tell people it's not for free. So we'll keep, and that's why it really makes people uncomfortable when I say that. I'm like going, listen. I said we're high paid tour guides, and what I mean by this is the reason why we're high paid is if you would just continue to go in that direction, you need less of a tour guide.
That's right.
But you don't. You got to come back and pay.
Yeah.
You
I
understand?
think it comes down to the concept, and I learned this not long ago, is it's not what you do to the patient. It's really ultimately what you do for the patient.
Yeah.
That's good.
And that's really essential. That's at the heart of who and what we are. I mean, we have clinical protocols and testing and all that, but it's really what we're doing for them, which is, again, the tour guide.
Yep.
Really supporting them, nurturing them, encouraging them, empowering them with the resources and the knowledge through testing. And that makes all the difference in the world. That's the wellness way.
Yeah, and I hate to say this one test right here, this is not a woman in her 30s or 40s. She's in her 20s.
Early
That's-
20s.
yes.
Early
sad.
20s, as sick as can be. This beautiful woman is in her 50s. You know, Sam, and I look at the hormone test, and it just breaks my heart because I've never met this woman yet, but I think I'm meeting her today, right?
Yes.
Yes. But the thing is this: I wouldn't want to go what she's going through. I look at her labs and I'm going and see what happens. Is I haven't even met her personally yet, but I already know her. I already know what her mood is going to be like. I already know what, for example, her body's going to do. I know what her breast tissue is going to do.
Yes.
I know all these things on here because her body just basically speaks to you through that lab. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of sad in that way because this woman is suffering. And she's a professional herself. She's a doctor herself. You understand?
And what's really even sad too, I mean, as much as we love your seminar and what you do, when you started off, I mean, you asked some very poignant questions, and this is across the board. When we do these seminars, when I watch him, Nancy and I, Fancy Nancy, we're there, and we've got patients already coming to the door right now. But he asked the one question, and it's multifaceted: is cancer, is heart disease, is diabetes, is it on the rise or is it on the decline in today's society? And everybody says what? On
The
the
rise.
rise. And
Yes.
this just should not be so. And that's why we're seeing these, 20-year-olds today, these 50-year-olds that are just sick and they're tired of being sick.
Yep.
Yep.
And look at this. They're knocking
Yeah,
down
they're
your door.
knocking
Knock down the
already.
door. Have them come- They can come on in, knock down the door.
Yes, I mean,
People are
that's-
coming in.
they're
We're
looking-
live across
Yeah.
the country.
Yes. Hi, guys.
So now we got an audience now.
That's right.
Elevation Health.
So
And, so when you ask those questions, it's like, people are not refuting.
no,
that
they don't.
sickness is on the rise.
Remember, because that's why even if you go back to a couple of shows ago, we don't have a healthcare debate.
Right.
We have a health insurance
Insurance
debate.
debate.
Do
Yeah.
you see? And it's not a joke. One of our biggest drains to even the United States national debt is actually Medicare. Do you see? Until it's changed, guess what? Our national debt will continue to go up no matter who's in control.
Yeah.
Democrats or Republicans, people know all the politics and stuff. And so we got to start getting to a health care debate, not a health insurance debate, because if you go to Europe or any of the countries that have full coverage for anything they do, they're just as sick as we are.
Yes.
Do you see?
Yeah.
It's just that as they say, they have more access. They don't have more access. They just have someone else paying for it, which actually makes less responsibility.
Right.
It really does. I
Allows
think,
for people to live sassy
yes.
longer.
Yeah, and then what they do is people come up to us and say, well, Doc, why don't you accept our Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance? I'm like, because once again, it doesn't cover health care. It's never meant to cover healthcare. It's meant for you to actually not, die from an emergency. You know what I'm saying? And see, so we got to start having a true healthcare debate,
Yes.
which is the way of the thinking right now is so off that stats of cancer, heart disease, and all these things continue to go up. You know what I'm saying? And so until we start thinking differently, I don't care who pays for it.
Yep.
It's still going to get worse.
Yeah, there was a reason why that room was full last night.
Yep.
With almost 200 people, and the reason why is because people are more desperate than ever
Yes.
before, looking for answers, not getting the answers from mainstream, allopathically trained, traditional trained medical doctors,
Yep.
or any type of doctor out there.
Yep.
And that's why the eyes were open more than anything. The people
Yep.
realize that I'm getting my answers now. Now
Yeah.
I understand why this is going on in my body, or this could be the way, this
Yep.
could be the path to really unlocking, the answers for me.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, disease and sickness is expensive, and insurance isn't going to solve the problem. Or
Nope.
giving more access.
Right.
That's not what's going to get people the answers and the solutions and the healing they need. It never does.
That's right.
And it's getting people the right model, and it's the tour guide model.
Yep.
That's right.
Well,
And that's-
someone else paying for a bad idea is still a bad idea.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, it is.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's like
even if it's free, it's still
still a bad
not-
idea.
It's still a bad idea if it's not going to get you healthy.
yes.
And a really bad idea is you not tuning in next week, Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, as you can see us back in Green Bay live from our studio. I want to thank you, Dr. Dan, for another amazing
Ross.
show.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
that
for
so
last
much.
night.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Doc,
Yes.
thank you for another great show. Once again, live. You left me hanging there, brother. You can't do that. Live from Lake
I'm always
Mary,
hanging with them, so it doesn't
Elevation
matter.
Health, a Wellness Way affiliate, Dr. Dan Yachter. Thank you, guys. And ladies, we'll see you next week.